Welcome to the Backyard Professor Responds videos. A very startling subject tonight, the invasion of the UFOs in 4 to 5 days from tonight. So let's take a look at this utterly astonishing prediction. How did this come about? I've noticed there is a huge uptick in YouTube videos discussing this subject now, just from today and yesterday and the day before. On Reddit, it was brought up and discussed for a week or so about 22 days ago. What is the basis of this prediction? Is it real? And do I believe it? One item at a time. Let's take a look at the first clip I found. I have 4 video responses that I want to respond to, video clips that I want to respond to, and then some very interesting UAP activity going on in the UK and over Washington, D.C. again. Just in the last couple days, there is a very huge upsurge of activity of the UAP worldwide on military bases of both the United States, the UK, and elsewhere.
I have a really weird story. So this guy, his name is Cliff High. It was 1997. He developed this software program called WebBot. And what it would do, it would scan the entire internet, collect data, it would make predictions for the stock market. But then he delved into it a little more. It's just like, let's see what else it can predict. In 2009, it came up with a prediction of the future that there was going to be a battle in the air with the military and UFOs, and that even UFOs would be fighting UFOs. Whoa. But there had to be a trigger to set it in motion. Yeah, set it in motion. It said that when this trigger happens, then 39 days later, this prediction will come true. Here's the crazy part. 2009. The trigger was Donald Trump would be interviewed by Joe Rogan.
Bro, no. No way, dude. That's crazy.
Now, I've seen a couple of videos of Cliff High, and he is a very interesting duck. He claims to be a remote viewer as well. I can't remember who he's talking to. I couldn't find it tonight because it's getting late and I wanted to make this video. I will do more research into this if I have to. But he claims to have remote viewed this situation. So we have 4 to 5 days before the invasion of the UFOs. We're out of time. And I've been saying for the last month, things are happening. Things are building up and picking up. Richard Dolan has been noticing that. Many others have been noticing that. Is this what it's leading up to? This is quite amazing. Let's take another look at another video clip.
You've got a big storm coming.
Today, we're checking out recent UFO sightings that have been raising a lot of concerns, starting with the whammy in Washington, D.C. You can see as the video starts, there's already these strange lights over the Capitol, and normally people would just brush them off. But as you watch the video, you'll start to see these lights literally materialize and dematerialize in and out of thin air, like they could just pop in and out of existence. This is crazy.
You can see there's several of them. This has been making the rounds on YouTube. The real question is, are these UFOs? But look at that. That one just popped right into existence there. That was interesting. And it used to be over here in front near the Capitol. There's the one in front near the Capitol.
And as Think Tank mentioned, and as I mentioned, yes, These things are materializing and dematerializing. Here's a closer look. Bro, that one in the top just like turned on as if you turned on a light switch. That doesn't happen. Normally, even when planes go off into the distance, you'll start to see them kind of fade away first. So the light kind of dims out. No, these things are just like, hey, we're here. Oh, we're not. What is going on?
That's been happening over DC. And I have another one that talks about the ones happening over the UK, which I will get to. Let's take a look at this next one first.
But let's talk about this AI prophecy and some of the implications that it may have. So here's the thing. So back in 2009, some of you don't know that there was actually AI, artificial intelligence, back in 2009. There was this program called WebBot, and it made a startling prediction. If in fact all this is true, it's really hard to substantiate some of this stuff, but I think for the sake of conversation, it's interesting. So a major aerial event involving UFOs would occur 39 days after a very specific trigger event. So this is at least the conversation that's happening. So the AI said, now 2009, this AI program called WebBot made this prediction that a major aerial event involving UFOs would occur 39 days after a specific trigger event. And what is this trigger event? It's that a certain political figure being interviewed by Joe Rogan would be the impetus for then now 39 days later this like aerial event in the sky. So here's what's weird. That interview actually happened on October 25th, 2024. So 39 days from that date is December 3rd, 2024. As of the date of this recording, it's Friday, November 29th. So I guess we'll see. But the reason why this gets weird to me is because in the days to come, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if this prediction, this AI program from 2009, we'll see if it's true. But here's the thing. The news articles that are trending right now are actually, in fact, saying that, it's already happening. And that's sort of the language that's being used. So check it out. I mean, this is Capitol Hill, y'all. This is Washington, D.C., and you have this anomaly.
So he is saying it's already beginning to happen with this very interesting, intense activity of supposed UFOs or UAPs over Washington, D.C. again. He had recorded that just 10 hours ago. This is brand new news. And he's tying that event in Washington, D.C. to this AI prediction that was done from Cliff High's program about Donald Trump interviewing with Joe Rogan, which did happen, and many, many of us saw that. We don't know what about that could have made it the triggering event, but that's the triggering event, and we're going to know in 4 to 5 days whether this occurs. One other item that I think also somewhat has a tendency to reinforce this particular link between the UAP over Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, and this idea of a UFO invasion is the next video clip I want to play for you.
This is so wild. So this man called Cliff High developed a software program over 20 years ago that scanned the entire internet and analyzed thematic patterns and language that people were using all over the world to predict the future. Cliff High believed in our individual subconscious intuition, but he also believed in our interconnected consciousness that we all draw from whether we're aware of it or not. So using a technique that he called predictive linguistics, he wrote a program that was able to analyze all the keywords and phrases and thematic patterns and assign them an emotional value. It then uses a formula to gauge our emotional tensions and write a report on events that will happen in the future. Now, these predictions all came with a precondition that Cliff called temporal markers. And that's kind of like a precursor event, like a trigger event that has to happen before the prediction will come true. So the prediction will not happen until or unless the temporal marker or the trigger event happens first. So what did this program predict? Way back in 2009, this is crazy, honestly. The software program reported of a battle in our skies that got chaotic and out of hand between military jets and UFOs, and also, interestingly, UFOs against other UFOs. And this would mark the beginning of an era where non-human intelligence became a part of our everyday reality. And this was all to take place roughly 39 days after the trigger event happened, so after that temporal marker event. And that temporal marker event was Donald Trump being interviewed by Joe Rogan, which just happened the other day and is already the biggest podcast of all time. But let me explain why this is so wild. In 2009, when this prediction was made, Joe Rogan was far from being a household name like he is today. His podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, had its very first episode in December 2009. And back then, it was literally just Joe and a couple of his mates on their webcams in their lounge room. He had hosted Fear Factor, and he was the commentator for the UFC back then. But even then, the UFC was way smaller than what it is today. And Donald Trump being the president was not even in the conversation. In 2009, he was just a real estate mogul and the guy from The Apprentice. This kind of prediction back then was so far out of.
We've seen enough descriptions now of the context to get where this AI prediction, which the one Christian gentleman was calling a prophecy, where it came from and how it arose, and why it's so significant is the fact that it's here. We're out of time. Next week, we are going to see this UFO invasion. Now, I looked this up on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia. You got to be very careful with Wikipedia because of the way they run it, which is ludicrous, but let me double check this. Possible new open contact date, December 4th, 2024, UFO battle in the sky based on WebBot project prediction software, which may have also predicted Trump assassination attempt and recent Rogan Trump interview. This was had 22 days ago, this discussion. So they describe it. Some of the highly predicting events, significant events, were July 15th and 16th. It was uploaded 2 months before this date. And in the video, he speculated Trump moved back into the White House. And that is apparently happening. On July 13th, only 2 days earlier, there was an assassination attempt on Trump, which could be the spike the software detected. The assassination attempt may have also contributed to him returning to the White House. And then we hear him speak of a temporal marker from 2009 that indicated Rogan would interview Trump on a podcast. Podcasts were relatively new back then. This is believed to be a precursor event that was to happen before another event happens. The event predicted to happen 39 days after this temporal marker is a battle in the skies between our military and UFOs, and also UFOs against each other. 39 days after the Rogan Trump interview is December 4th, 2024. So I've seen 3 days, I've seen December 3rd and I've seen December 4th. So anyway, what I want to do is give you my personal view on all of this utterly fantastically fascinating information and a potential deal breaker. This is the game changer if it happens. Do I think this is going to happen? It doesn't matter what I think. It matters whether it happens or not, right? I'm skeptical, and yet in a way, I'm somewhat hopeful. This really could be a game changer and one fabulous coincidence if it actually does occur. And what would the ramifications of this be? Now, I really hope to goodness, sincerely, I really hope our military doesn't end up fighting the UFOs. We're going to get slaughtered. We can't beat them. And I'm basing my information based on the Fravor video of him in his jet fighter radaring and trying to lock radar on the Tic Tacs and how fast they moved and how they blocked the radar, etc. I'm basing it on the UFO's ability to turn off and turn on our own nuclear installations that only we know the codes to. So if they know the codes to nuclear weapons, if we begin to defeat them, could they turn the nuclear weapons on us? See, that's spooky. That's not comfortable at all from my point of view. On the other hand, a most fascinating possibility in the long shot of odds that this kind of an air battle actually does occur next Wednesday. Just next Wednesday. I'm just talking just right after this weekend. If that kind of an air battle occurred between UFOs and UFOs, man, that would give us a lot of UFO wreckage, wouldn't it? To pick up, study, and analyze. We might even end up getting live aliens. And the other cool thing is, there is no way in hell any governments could really hide this and say, oh, well, you misunderstood it. It was a meteorite shower, or it was swamp gas, or something utterly asinine like they've done in the past. And the other interesting thing is, and again, there's no description of where, there's no description of the magnitude or the size of the fighting forces in the air that are battling. It could be just be one UFO against another. It could be an army of 200 UFO against 200 UFO and 200 American and 200 British fighter jets or Russian fighter jets. We don't even know where this is going to occur. What if it happens over in the UK? What if it happens above the Sahara Desert in Africa or above America? We do know now that the UAP are over military bases in the UK a lot. 3 of them, 3 major air bases. Right now, they've been doing this for weeks. We know that the so-called, quote, UAP are hovering over Washington, D.C., if that is what they are. There could be other possibilities of what those lights are. The flashing in and out is interesting, but that's not conclusive proof of that one gentleman's interpretation that they are popping into existence and then disappearing. That's an interpretation. All we can really say is the light blinks on and off. When it blinks off, it's in one position in the sky, and then when it blinks on, it's in a different position. That's not proof that they are disappearing out of reality and then reappearing. That is an interpretation. Lights by themselves, like that DC photo, video, is not proof those are alien craft either. All we can say is those are lights. I mean, could they be like a line of jets coming in to land at an airport? I lived in St. Louis for several months while I was on my Mormon mission, and I lived next to the airport. And at night, I saw lines of jets entirely encircling the entire city of St. Louis and going off into the distance for miles on end. We counted over 40 jets in the night sky circling around the city and coming in and landing. And that's what that reminded me of. So this is not a guarantee that these are UFOs, right? So I'm trying to keep a level head and keep it real. On the other hand, the prospect of gaining more alien tech, or perhaps some living aliens who survive a crash or whatever, now that could be utterly fascinating if the situation like this occurs. I have to say it's so unlikely that it probably won't. It would be really cool if it did, and we backed out of the battle pretty quick so that we didn't get our butts handed to us as a military, or even the Brits or the Russians or whoever. This could happen over Russian soil. The reason I keep picking on the American military is the American military bases, the UAP's drones. They're calling them drones over there in the UK. And so this is interesting. They're going from UFO to UAP, and now they're just calling them drones. And the military officer that's talking about it at a press conference is just lame. His explanation is just stupid. He said, well, it could be a bunch of hobbyists flying their drones over a military air base, and you're not going to shoot them down. We have technology that all we have to do, I can't remember the name of it. All we have to do is push a button and it shuts off all the electricity of everything in the air, and everything would just boom, come down. We can do that with just one push of a button. I mean, let's get real. We have high-powered rifles that, if they are real drones flying around a military base, you could easily plink one or two of them down, shoot one of them down, and see if it has surveillance equipment or weapons on it, etc. But they are doing nothing. Now, this is odd. I'm just saying, this is odd, because this is trespassing in our airspace. And we're not doing anything about it? How do we know if they're not Russian spy drones or Chinese spy drones or North Korean spy drones, right? How do we know that if we don't shoot one or two down? You're just going to let them fly over? Here's the real interesting part of those drones. Is they're up in the air for days at a time. Now, I've flown drones, and the batteries, and the last time I flew drones was a few years ago. But I know they haven't improved the batteries to last for 12 to 19 to 50 to 200 hours at a time. Ain't no way, no how. Not happening, Jack. No. And yet that's how long these drones are hanging over the air bases in the air hovering. So the reason they aren't shooting at these are these actually UFOs? Do they suspect they're UFOs and they want to downplay it as to not terrify everybody who's seeing this happen themselves? Because if these are UFOs, you don't want to fire on them. No. That makes sense. No wonder you're just letting them do their thing. Now, so far, there has been no attack. Technically, yes, it is a violation of airspace sanctity and private no trespassing zone. That is true. They are not harming anything. They are not making any kind of attacks. They are not tinkering with the electricity. That there has been no harm done to either living or non-living things or people. There have been nothing destroyed, ruined, or threatened at all. They're just hovering around there looking like they're taking video, perhaps. It's astonishing they aren't shooting them down. But can they? Maybe they've tried and they can't, and they don't want us to know that. And so they say, well, we're keeping an eye on them. They're okay. They don't know a thing about them. They don't know whose they are. They don't know what they're capable of. They're just letting them do this and dawdle there in the air for day after day after day after day after day after day. They've been doing it now for about 2 weeks over there in the UK. So that is suspicious. I'm not going to lie to you. That's suspicious. So what are we to make of all this? We'll know in 5 days if this AI prediction app or program or whatever you want to call it is actually valid. But the interesting thing is, it really does seem to have pointed to Donald Trump interviewing Joe Rogan. Now, that is also an interpretation. If I've heard all of these different accounts correctly, Donald Trump isn't named If he was, I'll be happy to be corrected. But Joe Rogan was. And that was certainly before he was doing anything called a podcast. So that's quite interesting. So that happened. But if this invasion occurs, what is that going to tell us about the power of AI for the future? Oh, man. Whoosh, we're talking open the doors of fantastically interesting possibility here. On the other hand, if nothing happens, well, but it did get the interview idea correct with Joe Rogan. And that was before Rogan was a hotshot. There was no evidence at all in 2009 that he was going to become world renowned and a billionaire off it. So either way, this is quite intriguing. It's not conclusive from my take on this. So yeah, I have some skepticism. The reason I'm doing my response video is because so many of these other guys are getting hundreds of thousands of views, and the people are going blitzoid in the comments. Could this whole thing be a disinformation campaign? Now, when you put on your conspiratorial hat for a minute and just think, what better way to really just disgust the public about this whole stupid subject, UFOs, UAPs, drones, whatever, if this so-called prophecy doesn't come about? Nobody's going to want to pay attention to this UAP again if they believe this is an actual prophecy or prediction that needs to come true in order for reality to be there. What better way to disarm people and get them off your back for disclosure than to throw something like this out? Then the government can continue working behind the scenes in secrecy using the UAP tech that they have to create their own weapons. If this is a disinformation campaign, it could have a powerful dampening effect on ever letting the truth out again, because nobody's going to give a flying flip. That's an interesting possibility that we'd have to entertain. So now yesterday was Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. I had a terrific Thanksgiving. I read halfway through Richard Dolan's book, UFOs and the 21st Century Mind, American Mind. I couldn't put it down. I started early in the morning and I read till 5 o'clock last night, and then we watched a movie. My eyes were so blurry I couldn't focus on the words anymore. But I read halfway through the book, about 270 pages. And it's sensational. That kind of helps keep me grounded in a fundamentally realistic sort of way. So I still believe the UAP are real. Now, when really fascinating sort of wild stuff like this so-called prophecy shows up, rather than just simply say, especially if you're Christian or Jewish or Mormon, instead of saying, oh my gosh, it's a prophecy. And of course, you're going to try to tie it into UFOs or demons and Jesus is coming back and the 144,000 and who knows how other many biblical distortions and stupid bullshit you're going to throw into this. in order to verify your own religious interpretations. And then if none of it comes true, you're just going to recalculate the stuff anyway. That's what's always been done, whether it's been Mormons or Mary Baker Eddy or the Millerites, the Seventh-day Adventists. It doesn't matter who. Every time prophecy fails, it's reinterpreted. Rather than go off down that road, I'm of the mind to take a let's wait and see. And if it really does happen, I have some serious advice for those of you who really have to believe this kind of stuff to stay alive, to be excited about this. I would advise you on December 3rd and 4th to get your best cameras out, not your dumb rinky-dink ones. Go buy a good camera if you really believe this is going to happen, and make sure you're looking up at the sky no matter what country you're in or where you're at, because if this does happen by a coincidence and you get videos of a UFO shooting down another UFO and getting it video hitting the ground and wrecking, or if the US military or the UK military is fighting back and forth and you get that on video and take photographs, you're going to become multi-millionaires with that kind of coverage. But do it right. Get the focus and try to get close in. Don't zoom so far in on your digital that it splats all over the screen into fuzzy uselessness. Keep it sharp and crisp, and then enlarge it on your computer instead of on your phone, or however you're going to do that. That would be my honest advice. Go buy a really good camera, or if you have one and you're saving it for that special occasion, what if this turns out to be that occasion? You dang sure going to want to make sure you get some good video and photos. Potentially an option, potentially a chance for you to really make it big. So yes, I'm going to have my eye on the sky just for, every now I'm looking up and seeing if I hear or see anything weird or interesting, right? Next Wednesday and Thursday, the 3rd and the 4th, is the day of prediction where the UFOs invade Earth. Is it going to happen or isn't it? I don't know. But I am going to keep an eye up on the sky just for kicks and giggles, and I will return and report what I see or don't see on Wednesday and Thursday. So in the meantime, thanks for watching my BYP Responds. Hit like and subscribe. Help me with the algorithm. Share this video with everybody you can and want to. And leave me some comments and some likes below. Appreciate all of you. Welcome to all you new subscribers. I'm going strong in the channel, and I'm having an absolute ball. I will keep returning with more information as I can. In the meantime, have a great night. Make lots of friends. Stay happy. Sleep well. And I will see all of you very soon, because I'm coming back with a lot more information.